Alright, the 2025 season for the Purdue Boilermakers is coming up fast. And after last year, where we went 1-11, we now basically have an entirely new team to look at. Most of our starters have transferred out, we have very few returning players, let alone returning starters, whole new coaching staff, and we're going to get into all of that today. Now first, we're going to start off with offensive position players and then go to the defense. So that's what we're going to start off first with, is our quarterbacks. I want to talk about Ryan Brown. Now, I have been a huge Ryan Brown fan ever since his game against Northwestern. There are two games that I've seen from him where he has shown a huge amount of potential. Northwestern and then Illinois last season. Both of those games, he showed great dual threat capabilities. A little trigger happy, he'll throw his fair share of picks. But when he's on it, he is on it. And I'm not just talking about when he runs the ball. When he throws the ball, he can sling it a little bit. I'm very excited if he wins the starting job, which it sounds like he's going to be the starter. I'm not surprised by that at all. He has the skill set and the capability to be a Division I starting quarterback, and a very good one. After what I saw in the Illinois game, I wanted him to start over Hudson Card. I respect Ryan Walters for sticking with your senior in Hudson Card and letting him finish out his senior year and all that. It's not like we were going to do anything. So starting Ryan Brown wasn't really going to, I understand sticking with your guy. This year, I was very upset when he transferred to UNC, but, he just spent his summer and part of his spring there and then just came back to West Lafayette. So we'll take him because he's a very talented player. The other quarterback who could be starting for us is Malachi Singleton. Coming out of Arkansas, very talented, great skill set. He had a really good game against Ole Miss this year. Just like Ryan Brown has never been a full-time starter, is a little bit inexperienced, but is also a dual threat quarterback, young, explosive, a lot of potential. Both of these guys are really good quarterbacks. Now, whoever doesn't start this year is probably going to transfer out after this season. Just saying that right now. But maybe we see both of them used. Maybe we see if Ryan Brown struggles, then Malachi Singleton's going to get a shot. I don't really know how it's going to play out. It could go either way. But I do think Ryan Brown has the edge. I think he's going to start the year. And then after that, who knows what could happen. I'm mainly only going to talk about those two guys. We have some other quarterbacks on the roster, obviously. Those are the two guys right there that you're probably going to see play this year. Now, on to the wide receivers, and the first one I want to talk about is Denylon Morset. Unfortunately, most people only know him for the catch that he made out of bounds in the end zone. And I think that is extremely unfair to him. He is an explosive, athletic receiver who unfortunately just didn't get a lot of looks last year because our offense was that terrible. We weren't able to get him the ball very often. And just overall, I don't think that's his fault. I don't think it is a skill or talent issue on Denylon Morset's part. I think that is mainly our offense last year just being that terrible. This year, hopefully, with an RPO, more run-focused offense, he might not get the ball that much. But I would love, if we're not going to get it to him through the air, I would love to see some jet sweeps or some reverses or something like that, just to get the ball in his hands. And then you have Nitro Tuggle, who has an amazing name, and similar to Denylon Morset, is coming here from Georgia. Athletic, explosive, dynamic, all those buzzwords that you hear about highly touted wide receivers coming out of high school. That's what Nitro Tuggle is. Similar to Denylon Morset, just get him the ball any way you can, whether it's through the air or in the run game. However you're going to get him the ball. Just get him the ball, because he's going to make some plays. I want to also talk about Chauncey Magwood. This one might seem a little random, but he's a fifth-year player who played at UCF and Kentucky. He is a very experienced player compared to this mainly young position group. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some reps because he's experienced. He's been there, done that. Whereas a lot of these guys are still really young. Jesse Watson is another guy I want to highlight. He is a undersized slot receiver, a real spark plug. He is similar, obviously I'm going to make this comparison because I'm a Colts fan, but he is similar to a Josh Downs or really any undersized slot receiver who you can just plug in there and make plays. Then you have Michael Jackson III. Played at both Georgia and USC. He's a senior this year, that's why I'm highlighting him, because he's going to be hungry to have one last shot at playing some Division I college football. Not saying that he's going to get a lot of playing time or anything like that, but I'd like to highlight him just to point out he's a senior, he's going to be hungry, he's going to find somewhere to contribute, whether it's on special teams, as a receiver, whatever it is, you're going to see him get on the field as much as he can force his way onto the field. And overall, as a position group, the wide receivers, very young, very talented, very hungry. There might be some guys step up throughout the year who we don't expect to step up. There's so many players that I can't highlight all of them, but just know that this receiver group, similar to last year, it's not lacking any talent. They just need to be used the right way. Now on to the running backs. And first, I have to talk about Devin Mockabee. And I'm not even going to talk about him as a football player at first. I just want to say thank you, Devin Mockabee, for not transferring out. You saw Dylan Thieneman transfer out. You saw Will Helt transfer out. You saw a lot of really talented players transfer out of this program. And I'm sure he had some huge NIL deals that he could have accepted to go and play for other schools. Probably even some better Big Ten or SEC schools. Because he's a really talented running back. And people know that he's a really talented running back. But he chose to stay at Purdue. Similar to how Purdue gave him a chance, he is giving Purdue a chance this year to do right by him in his final season of college football before he goes on to the NFL. Now to talk about Devin Mockabee as a football player, because he's pretty good. Really wouldn't be surprised if he finally gets to 1K rushing yards. He's fell short of it the past few years. It's not necessarily always been his fault, like last year. Wasn't his fault. Our offense was just absolutely terrible. He was scrapping for every yard he could get. But this year, with Barry Odom, I wouldn't be surprised if his senior season is the best year that Devin Mockabee has ever had. Now, the second and third string running back spots are kind of open to anybody. Adai Llewellyn, Malachi Thomas, or Jaheim Merriweather could all take those two spots. They're fairly open. Now on to the tight ends. First off, I want to talk about Rico Walker. He played at both Maryland and Auburn. He is more undersized as a tight end compared to the rest of this group. This is a pretty big tight end group, whereas Rico Walker's only standing at like 6'2". But he's an experienced college football player. Again, both Maryland and Auburn, he got a little bit of playing time. Wasn't tight end number one or anything, but he's been around a little bit. He's experienced. I think he could be a pretty good tight end for us, even if it's just as a blocking tight end. Any way that he can add value, I think he's going to. Now, George Buren, this is a guy that I've been high on ever since 2023 when he had a really nice game against IU. He hasn't played a lot since then, but this year could be the year that he breaks out and is tight end one, because tight end one's kind of open. After Max Clare left, it's kind of open. So I wouldn't be surprised if he snags tight end one. I forget who the projected tight end is, but George Buren could have a really nice year this year. He's a little bit skinnier, but at 6'5", he's a pretty tall tight end. Really good receiving tight end, nice hands. He might have a nice year this year. Christian Moore, he played last year under Barry Odom. Not necessarily going to be a big receiving tight end, but he can play both tight end and fullback. He's going to be blocking a lot, and hopefully he's good at it. He's not going to get a lot of praise. There aren't going to be a lot of highlight reels made of him, but if he can clear the way and help block for Devin Mockabee, that's going to be huge to our success. Now on to our offensive line. I'm not going to single out a lot of offensive linemen. I want to talk about them as a group because last year we had some really talented offensive linemen, especially Marcus and Bow. We had some really nice, talented offensive linemen. Unfortunately, like a lot of our players, they were not utilized correctly. The system around them was just not the best in the world. This year, it's going to be an entirely new offensive line. It's going to be a lot of new names. There's going to be a lot of guys that have never even played for Purdue before who are going to start on this offensive line. That could be either a good thing or a bad thing. We're just going to have to wait and see. They've had a whole spring, summer, and fall to get acquainted with each other and get used to playing with each other. There's still going to be growing pains, but they've had time to practice together and get to know each other and hopefully be able to work as one unit. Now, you do have Jalen St. John, Hank Purvis, and Mason Vicari, who all played under Barry Odom at UNLV. So they're going to be familiar with the head coach, possibly familiar with the system that he's installing. It just depends. But we're really just going to have to wait and see what these guys are capable of doing. Now it's time to talk about our defense. Mike Shearer is the defensive coordinator, and he was the defensive coordinator at UNLV under Barry Odom. He helped lead UNLV's defense to being top 30 in the nation in opponent points allowed. Pretty solid defense, not like the best in the nation or anything, but way better than anything we had last year. And the defense that he's going to run is going to look something like 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, a nickel corner, 2 boundary corners, a 1 high safety, and then another safety who's more of a safety linebacker combination who can drop down into the box. So it's not that different from what we had last year or have had in years in the past. It's kind of a popular college defense to run. But again, the question is going to be similar to last year. We have the talent. Do we have the system to utilize that talent? And the first defensive position group we are going to talk about is going to be the defensive backs. First, you have Tony Grimes, who was a starting quarterback for 2 years at UNC and a starter last year at UNLV. He's an experienced corner. He's not a huge stat sheet stuffer or anything like that, but he's got nice size and length and athleticism. So he's gonna generate pass breakups. He's gonna hopefully provide some good coverage to where they're not even gonna want to throw the ball to that side of the field. Then you have Ryan Turner, who is a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He's transferring here from Boston College. He's going into his junior year, but he didn't get significant playing time until last year. He did get some limited playing time, wasn't a full-time starter, but in the limited playing time he got, he still got a pick 6, 4 pass breakups, and a sack. So, in a starting role with more extended playing time, who knows what he might be capable of. Then you have our projected starting nickel, Sterling Smith. He's transferring from FCS Holy Cross, and he is experienced with Indiana, as he did play high school football in Indianapolis at Cathedral High School. He's a little unproven, hasn't played FBS football, but hopefully he's going to fly around and make some plays at nickel. Then we have one of our starting safeties, or one of our projected starting safeties, Crew Walkley. He started most of his games at BYU and also played at Utah State. Don't know a whole lot about him, but I'm going to be very interested to see how he fits in with this defense. Then you have our other projected starting safety, Hershey McLaurin. He is going into his 6th year of college football. He's played both safety and corner. He's versatile. He's experienced. Another guy that we can talk about in the DB room is Smiley Bradford, one of the few returning players from last year's team. Might not be a starter this year, wasn't really a starter last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some rotational reps and possibly makes a few plays here or there. There are a few other backups who might get some rotational reps, but overall this DB room's got a little bit of everything. We've got some inexperienced guys, we've got some older, more veteran guys. It's a mixed bag, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of these guys are athletic, they're very talented. I mean, they're D1 football players. They have the talent to make up a good secondary. It is all about, is the system going to fit them, and are they going to be put in positions to succeed? Now on to our linebackers, and the first one is our projected starting middle linebacker, Manny Powell. He started half of his games at UNLV last year. He's a senior linebacker, which is good. Even though he's not the most experienced when it comes to playing time, as a senior, that is going to help. He is most likely going to be the guy that is communicating plays to the rest of the defense. So it's nice to have a senior leader who had played under Barry Odom at UNLV coming in and stepping up as our starting middle linebacker. Now our projected starting weak side linebacker is Sanders Ellis. He's coming in from Tennessee State and he is a stat sheet stuffer. Last season he was an FCS freshman All-American and voted the best freshman in his conference. He should be a big impact player for us. It's no surprise to me that he's projected to be one of our 2 starting linebackers. I'm really hoping that he's going to be a game wrecker for us. I don't think the jump from FCS to FBS is going to be that big for him. When you're a linebacker and you just go out there and wreck stuff, it doesn't matter what level you're playing at. If you've got the heart to do it, you're going to do it. Alex Sanford Jr. is another transfer linebacker that I want to talk about. At Arkansas, he mainly played as a special teams ace, and if that's all he is for Purdue this year, I'm not mad. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some rotational reps. Either way, whether he's a special teams ace or a special teams ace along with being a rotational linebacker, he is going to provide value for us in some way, shape, or form. Now on to our defensive line. And the first guy I want to talk about is CJ Madden. Again, one of the few returning players from last year's team. He has not played a lot of football. He played some games last year, and then he had a season-ending injury. I think he has a lot of potential. He could be a very good defensive end for us. As long as he stays healthy, this is going to be the first year that he is going to be a full-time starter at the Division I college level. I'm really hoping he produces for us. I think he could be very good. Just gonna have to wait and see. Then you have the other projected starting defensive end, Trey Smith. He's a redshirt sophomore. He played in 9 games last year. Again, another guy who is projected to be a full-time starter for the first time in his college career. I'm really hoping this means we have a lot of young, hungry guys who just want to go out there, get after it, make stuff happen. Now on to our interior defensive line, and I first want to talk about Jamarion Harkless. At 6'4", 350 pounds, this guy's a beast. He is a true nose tackle. If all he does is eat up blocks like any regular nose tackle, that's going to be enough. But I really think he's going to be able to get through and stuff the run, maybe even rush the passer a little bit. This guy is going to be a difference maker. At that size, with that athleticism that he has, being a returning player, he's going to be a solid nose tackle for us, 100%. Then you have our projected starting defensive tackle, TJ Lindsey. He's transferring here from Auburn. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, but he didn't play a lot last year. Hence why he's transferring to Purdue. He wants to get more playing time. And he's projected as a starter right now. He's still young. He's a little inexperienced. Just like a lot of this defensive line, it's a lot of young, inexperienced guys. So they're just going to be hungry. They're going to go out there. They're going to get after it. They're going to make plays for us. And it's actually a pretty deep group because I'm about to get into the backups, and we've got some really nice guys in here. The first backup I want to talk about, or projected backup, because I don't think this guy's going to stay a backup for very long if somebody slips up. CJ Nunley. Coming from Akron, he is a 2-time first-team All-MAC selection. He was arguably Akron's best defensive lineman over the past 2 years. Absolute stat sheet stuffer, game breaker, whatever word you want to use to describe a great defensive lineman, that is the words that you would use to describe him. I don't think he's going to be a backup for very long. This is just the projected depth chart, so things could change from now until Purdue's first game of the season. But he's definitely going to get enough reps to get in there and show what he can do. Clearly he transferred here to play on the bigger stage in the Big Ten, hopefully up his draft stock a little bit. I think he's going to do just that. He could be a very good player for us. Another guy you have is Breon Ishmael. He's a redshirt sophomore coming from Michigan. Coming from a really big program like that, even if it is another Big Ten school, Michigan is up here. So coming down to Purdue, it's going to be a little bit different for him. Maybe that competition at Michigan has made him a better player, so I'm hoping he comes in here as a rotational defensive lineman and can make some plays this year. Jamarius Dinkins, 6'5", 300 pounds. That is huge. A nose tackle at that size, at the very least, is going to eat up blocks. You have to dedicate 2 offensive linemen to somebody that big. Can you imagine being a guard, being left alone on that? Finally, on the D-line, I want to talk about D'Amico Kennedy. He was a rotational interior D-lineman for us last year. Wouldn't be surprised if you see him this year, so just keep an eye on him. It's time to talk about special teams. Our field goal operation is almost entirely new. Spencer Porath, he's a little bit experienced. Played in 9 games last year as a kicker. He's also our kickoff specialist, but here I'm talking about him as our place kicker. He's experienced, but we have an entirely different long snapper and holder. Luke Rabb is our new freshman long snapper who has never played in a college game before. And then you have our punter / holder, Jack McAllister. Now, Jack McAllister is an experienced player. He was a starter at Washington for several years as a punter. So I'm assuming that he was also their starting holder. But even with that, you have a long snapper, a holder, and a kicker who have never played in a game together. They have never gone from snap to hold to kick in a college football game together, ever. But they have had the whole spring, summer, and fall to get used to each other, similar to how I talked about the offensive line earlier. They've been able to get acquainted, get used to each other. I'm only pointing it out because it could lead to some growing pains in the first few weeks. It's going to take game reps to really get comfortable with each other. This operation could be one of the best in all of college football in just 5 weeks into the season. You never know. It's the same with our punt operation. You have a freshman long snapper who never snapped in a college football game before with an experienced seasoned punter. Hopefully they can come together, share knowledge, get used to each other, and our punt operation's going to be good too. Again, I'm only pointing it out because it is worth noting. I believe in these guys. They're going to do a good job. just want to point it out. Last year, we had a lot of talent. You saw a lot of the guys that transferred out were some of the best at their positions in the transfer portal, and they went to big schools like Clemson and Oregon. Last year's team was not bad because we had bad players. Last year's team was bad because not everybody was on the same page. The coaching staff did not put players in a position to succeed. The system, the game plan, everything was a failure from start to finish. That's what we need to avoid this year. This year's team might be on paper less talented, and some of these guys are less experienced, but they're still not 1-11 bad. I'm not saying they can't go 1-11, but they're not 1-11 bad. Just like how last year's team was not 1-11 bad, nowhere close. I'm gonna put faith in them. I believe in them. I think that they can be they can get a bowl game. They can win 6 games. I'm just hoping for some fun, exciting Purdue football. Again, the last 2 years have not been fun. They've not been exciting. They have not been Purdue football. I just want Purdue football. Exciting, unexpected. You never know who they're going to upset. You never know what games they're going to win. You just walk into it hoping to have a good time. Usually you walk away having a good time. Anyways, I'm Limitless Pulse. I'll catch y'all next time.
But you get the mix right, nigga, put it in the blender. Hell yeah, I'm Wingstop. Jump on the chicken tender. It's like the beef with energy and water like timber. It's hurting, looking like dinner. It's like I got the bag, boy or girl.